The return to in-person learning has led to a lot more students struggling with behavioral issues at school as the trauma of the pandemic continues to take a toll. To help improve the mental and emotional well-being of students, a growing number of Bay Area school districts are turning to a Richmond-based nonprofit called the Mindful Life Project. For more on this effort, we're joined now by J.G. LaRochette, founder and executive director of the Mindful Life Project. J.G., good to see you. You teach students how to recognize their emotions and react in a healthy way. How is your program helping students who are especially struggling right now with the stress, the anxiety, and some of the behavioral issues that have come on as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex. It's a lot, right? We have a complex situation where young folks were already in a pandemic before the pandemic, right? Anxiety, depression, so many of our social emotional learning skills were challenged. And when the pandemic came, it brought us complexity both to our students, their families, and to schools. And so right now, mindfulness-based social emotional learning is key. Allowing our students to really know that their emotions are welcome, they can navigate with their mindful skills, and really reducing the impact of the stress and trauma that was already around our young people before this. And now during a pandemic, how we re-enter schools is so important.
All right, so your mindfulness coaches go into the schools and obviously work directly with the students. Some of the techniques you use include doing yoga with the kids, performing arts, meditation, music as well. How does the program give these students the tools they need to identify their emotions and process what they're feeling before they react in a way that might not be appropriate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's for all of us though, right?
Yeah,
How do we create space and time between a stimulus and our reaction instead of have a healthy response? So when it comes down to it, what we've been seeing is that young people are already pretty in tune with being mindful, right? Being in the present moment, being curious about the moment, being able to engage in healthy ways. When stress and trauma takes over, we go into our stress response and we go into reactivity. We go into defensive mode or aggression, right? And so what we've been able to see is through our mindfulness skills, and we teach every classroom, 14,000 students a week right now. Every teacher is able to see that. We're able to create a real strong, call it culture of practice, where kids are able to take a mindful breath before reacting, or adults can check into their body and notice where emotions are showing up. And most importantly, not be judgmental about how they're feeling in their minds, their bodies, and their hearts. That all of it is welcome, right? Most of us felt like, oh, if I'm anxious, I'm scared, I have sadness. Those are emotions that should push away. That escalates our stress response. That allows us to be more in that defensive fight, flight, freeze. So our young folks and the teachers and families are engaging in these mindfulness practices that both we use in practice, right? And then how do we engage in healthy ways internally and externally? So we're seeing our young people really own it, and our staff's doing an amazing job, as well as our teams out there in the schools. They're holding a lot, right? Teachers and principals, everyone's holding a lot.
And that's an important point. The mindfulness techniques that you're teaching is not just for the students, it's for obviously the teachers as well, because they are under incredible stress right now as they return to the classroom. Recently, the American Academy of Pediatrics said that the mental health crisis among children in this country qualifies as a national emergency. Do you think, broadly speaking, that schools here in the Bay Area and across the country are doing enough to invest in social emotional learning to address this problem?
You know, I think that's a wonderful question, a question that we've been looking at for a long time as an organization that wants to do direct services, right? If we put social emotional learning and mental health and make it another thing a teacher has to hold, it's impossible. You already have to hold so much more. When we are on campus, our coaches are on the campus for 8 hours a day, providing support for students, embodying the practice, being able to really show teachers ways to engage in that way. So I would say the real crisis that we're seeing is a global one. It's hitting everybody. So social emotional learning, mental health in the past was kind of like an add-on. Right now, it must be a must-have. And we believe that schools and districts are investing in it, but we have to put more into it because this is a huge need across just not California, but the United States.
Yeah, it has to be a bigger part of the curriculum in schools across the board. We have to leave the conversation there, a very important one. Appreciate you taking the time. J.G. LaRochette, Executive Director and founder of the Mindful Life Project based in Richmond. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Take care.